So the Warcraft 3 Reforged Patch 2.0 came out, and not everything's working right. However, changes are being made even to this day to rectify the wrongs of the very recent past of this remaster, reforge, retouch, relaunch, whatever you want to call it. Bellular is a very educated chap, very good at concise commentary when it comes to gaming subjects. He has a great channel, Bellular News. I would recommend. I'm going to watch this video because it's Warcraft 3 related and see what his thoughts are.
You know, at this stage, Warcraft 3 really is just a cursed game. Reforged actually launched just under half a decade ago, which definitely stings. It was a complete disaster, but now Blizzard wants to change things. They've shipped Update 2.0, and it is positioned quite big. It's, yes, righting a wrong, but it's not just that. You see, Warcraft 1 and 2 and Beyond the Dark Portal are all remastered, and now they're all bundled together in the nostalgic Warcraft 3 battle chest for $39.99. And I'd absolutely love to tell you that it's all a free win, but no, it is in fact a bit more complicated. You may have seen headlines of false advertising, or at least chat of it, and yeah, there's actually something to that, and I was also misled by some of Blizzard's promotional materials. What they've shipped also does not hold up well under scrutiny at all.
Don't worry, Asmongold was as well.
All times, and what we see is that yes, I think there are individuals at Blizzard who mean well, who want to do the best here, but Blizzard, the corporation, well, they were not really able to match people's expectations.
See, that's what got me when I very first saw this trailer for the first time, and you can actually see me watching it live at some point, if you go through my YouTube videos enough times. The first initial cutscene of them charging towards each other, there's a lot happening, many jump cuts, certain camera angles. You can pass your brain off to go, oh, this is kind of cool. But as soon as it goes to real game engine, game camera view that you would be used to from Warcraft 3, your brain sees the Reforged models moving and it goes, that doesn't look right.
And there's something that explains all of this. Whenever Blizzard spoke of their RTS team, they weren't lying. There is an RTS team. It's just absolutely not what you would expect. So let's get into the story. To start, I want you to take a look at this image that totally appears to be a screenshot of Warcraft 3 Reforged 2.0, and particularly taking a look at some of those human buildings, you can see what appear to be excellent art updates, remade buildings. I mean, they really do stand out. But while these images were all over the internet and were even featured on the Battle.net launcher, it turns out they're actually not screenshots of Warcraft 3 Reforged. They are images of it, and they probably did originate as screenshots, but they have been heavily touched up in post. Indeed, if you take a look at the trees, you'll soon notice that those are not Warcraft 3 trees. They are, in fact, painted in.
In all fairness, the Reforged update made the trees look very different as well. Oh, hello. Thank you very much there for the raid.
It's about time.
Back to Warcraft.
Never trust an elf.
There we have it. Thank you very much for the raid. Go check out Back to Warcraft. Keep him going. Creating content so I can react to that as well. The trees here look really nice. Those are more like the original Warcraft 3 trees. The Reforged trees don't look exactly like the Warcraft 3 trees. I'm talking about the very recent change to the terrain on the Warcraft 3 Reforged trees. But they're cartoony enough to pass, and they've got that fun vibe, whereas my issue again with Reforged is always that it looks too gritty and realistic, but it brings it back to the cartoony-ish popping vibe of the original Warcraft 3 Samwise Didier art.
If you fire up the game, what you get is something different, although it is something that is in line with the trailer's claims. Up-resed original assets and updated environments. Now, immediately this looks like an old industry tactic that we used to hate back in the day called the bullshot. As in, screenshot plus bullshit equals bullshot. A trend where game screenshots basically wouldn't be representative of what you would get. And on face value, it absolutely seems that Blizzard outright tried to mislead people. That seems like an insane thing to do, especially so obviously. And that's because this is probably a mistake, and I think it's all quite explainable.
He's right. Yeah, audacity of Blizzard to try to falsely advertise to us again with Warcraft 3 Reforged. Surely they wouldn't be foolish enough to make that mistake. Can they get away with it if it is a mistake and it's not deliberate? In a way, we kind of understand what's happening, but I'll let him explain it. But yes, basically, I think there's a miscommunication going on between the marketing team and those that actually understand the game and play the game, and they just slap the images up, not knowing that they were concept arts. But it says concept art, so really it's kind of negligence on quite a high level when it comes to actually impacting advertising, which makes money, and anything that makes money is something that can hold you accountable.
You see, if you take a look at Blizzard's press center, you do find these images, but they're not labeled as gameplay screenshots. They are correctly labeled as gameplay concepts. And a concept and a screenshot are, of course, different. This explains what we see here, but unless you're in the industry, it still is going to feel off and manipulative and wrong. I mean, why would you take a screenshot of the game and then touch it up and show it to people? Well, the answer is you never should have showed it to people, but there is a reason why that would be made. And in this case, it's the difference between the type of concept art that you see in, say, a glorious double spread on a premium art book, and then a piece of working concept art, as in things that artists do to help the production of a game. To my eye, what this is, rather clearly, is a visual target. And visual targets like this are extremely common in industry. What people will often do is literally have artists create a final screenshot. It's not actually a final screenshot, but it's an asset that is meant to look like one. And the whole point is that with that existing, it can serve as a North Star, so the people working on the project can have a clear definition of what good looks like. And
now that this has been brought to light in many aspects and many people have seen this, we need to really push this to Blizzard and say, hey, you see those pictures? You have to make that happen now.
And can work towards it. That's why a gameplay concept like one of these images would exist. But
look at that Dreadlord as well. Like, such clean sort of outline on the model without too much stroke, aka that sort of black line or white line around it. The cell shading style. It really is nice, isn't it?
Of course, this should never be shown in marketing materials. This should not be on Blizzard's press center because it is obviously confusing and misleading. I think that most likely human error, crossed wires, or staff in marketing who are not artists and didn't really notice the difference just led to this happen, and it is a perfect storm of bad. But I do think of Hanlon's razor, right? Never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity.
Yeah, but the stupidity's still going on because they still got the undead image on their buy website. I saw it half an hour ago, and I assume it's probably still there to this point. And they should have known at this point that people have made Blizzard aware, or they should know, right? Because they are adapting to the things that we're saying. And if they're doing that, they would know that we would have said that the artwork is false advertising. So whoever's in charge of the website is on holiday at the moment, and they can't get through to them. So when he gets back on holiday, he's going to remove the pages, the images maybe.
I think it's likely that. But even with a reasonable explanation, this is still an absolute expectations management nightmare, because we can see what they thought a visual target was, and we can compare that to the up-res thing that we actually got. And getting all this right is the sort of thing you need a big wrinkly brain for, and thankfully, today's sponsor are going to help you get one. Who are an absolute favorite of mine. They're a true supporter of the channel. They are boot.dev, and here's the deal with them. They will teach you back-end web development using Python and Go, but importantly, they're just a cut above the rest because they're designed for people like you and me.
I'm lost already.
Their founders are actually viewers of the channel and big gamers themselves. So boot.dev is also a community RPG. I mean, just look at this real-time leaderboard. It's so neat. They've got quests, community boss battles, XP, all supporting an extremely thorough, detailed, career-focused learning pathway, of course made by people in that career, that'll take you from the basics of Python right through to learning back-end development with fun side quests as well,
I used to be pretty good at that
asteroids
game.
in Pygame, and vital career-adjacent skills, things like mastering Git. Now, back-end development is a high-paid career path. You're averaging 100 grand, often with great contracts, flexible working, and these are real transferable skills across the industry. And Boot just do it better than everyone else. So you can check them them out today at boot.dev/Bellular News. There, you'll get 25% off your first purchase. I'd go annual for the biggest saving. And if they're not for you, well, they've got a no questions asked 30-day refund. And also, you can browse the materials and their demos for free. To make things clear, here is an A-B comparison. You can see that one of them is an up-resed original asset, which is what they intentionally marketed and what is in the trailer. The other is the concept work, which they perhaps unintentionally marketed. You can see that they're even stylistically different, and in isolation, seeing that concept, you would not be silly to think that this was supposed to be a full remake of the in-game assets, perhaps a touch of that delicious Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition seasoning, which is not what this is. Now, what we did get is, I would say, leaning positive, absolutely, but it is a bit of a mixed bag. The thing, though, is, to anybody who expected something fundamentally different, this would be kind of gutting, especially in context. Warcraft 3 Reforged was, in my opinion, an absolute unmitigated artistic disaster, not just as a product, but its artistic integrity. You see, the artistic character of Warcraft 3 completely disappeared. It was replaced.
I know that pisses off the other community. Like, we've got like one community versus the other community at the moment. It's like a war, civil war going on, but yeah, there's a reason why the vast majority of us just use the classic graphics. I mean, look at that. There's so much bloat with all of that Reforged, just so much over-the-top detail that just doesn't need to be there.
With these kind of horrible, gnarly-looking, over-detailed models that look like they're from Raid Shadow Legends, not a Blizzard product. And it's in the context of just how off-model Warcraft 3 Reforged graphics were.
Ghost says, did I mention to you that the Priest of the Moon face is still effed, even in HD? Poor Priest of the Moon got ignored. Yeah, I imagine it's just, well, the classic HD Reforged is basically just lighting and a slight bit of detail change from AI updates. It's incredibly minimal. Like, there really is like almost next to no difference between the classic and the classic HD Reforged looks. So the Priest of the Moon will still look like the Priest of the Moon looks, unless the artist has physically changed the sprite template that she uses.
That this concept actually stings because it teases us with what a proper
Ardic has come out and openly said that he's one of the ones who love the Reforged graphics, and they're thrilled one of his favorite games got updated to graphics. I can stand playing with again. See, that is part of the problem, right? That it's more of a case of, if you love the Reforged graphics, you should have the utmost respect for the original graphics, pretty much, and then enjoy the Reforged graphics on top of it. But there's this kind of attitude where it's like, you're happy for the classic graphics to get screwed if the Reforged graphics get the updates. Like, you can stand playing again. You can stand playing Warcraft 3 again. It doesn't look horrible to you anymore. I mean, if you truly like Warcraft 3, you would like how it originally looked. So that's where there's a slight disparity there, I think.
Remaster would look like. But of course, there's more to this story than just 4 concept pieces of work. Let's take a look at Warcraft 3 Reforged Update 2.0 and what Blizzard actually shipped. Original assets have been upscaled, likely using some form of AI technique, which I would say is in principle absolutely fine. Upscalers have existed for a long time, and these days the AI upscalers, when done right, do tend to be vastly superior to traditional methods, but again, when done right. Another example of this, and one that's a bit more successful, is another Blizzard project called Cataclysm Classic. It actually uses a similar technique to pretty damn good effect with its new high-res texture option. But you see, here's the problem, right? There are wins and losses here, and that's because
I feel like World of Warcraft's always been a good example of a game that's kept the original graphics but updated it to look shinier, more polished, higher resolution, but keep the feel of the original graphics all the way through. I will still always prefer Classic in that as well, but I have played some of the latest editions of World of Warcraft, and it still feels and looks like World of Warcraft, where Reforged just had that problem where it didn't feel like Warcraft 3 anymore.
AI upscaling is not deterministic. Sometimes it can just completely cock up.
What's the blue thing? That's the Icy Crown treasure box, I believe is what it's probably called in the Warcraft 3 editor.
you'll just get bad work. And that means that while it's a tool you can use as a part of your process, you'll absolutely need both manual touch-up work and a lot of quality assurance. And in this case, I just do not think that has happened. Some icons are particularly bad, and there are some models where, when you look close, they do just kind of feel wrong. Now, many people will still be able to play this with Classic HD and perceive it as being an upgrade, especially if they're playing in a high resolution and they are not pixel peeping. But this...
Actually, the only problem I did have was the dragonfly when they started to go down the furry road and the dragons became scalies. So you had these femboy-looking dragons rather than all of the previous badass-looking androgynous... what's it called? Amorphomized, something like that, where it's like humanoid-looking dragons from the past. Yeah, they kind of went down a bit of a road on that one, so it was a bit hard to get behind that one. They sort of ignored the original style. I think the Brood, Deathwing, his son Nefarian. Yeah, the experiments that he did with the two, the big sort of lizard boys on their hind feet, and they got the pole arm and they're spinning it between their hands. It's not exactly like that, but they had some good models originally, and then they kind of went away from that.
Is below the quality bar that I expected, and it is nowhere near the gameplay concepts the Blizzard showed off, and because they're concepts the Blizzard made, we probably know that those were...
I think the Orc one looks painted the most, right? It looks like it's been filtered and unfiltered. If you look at this Spirit Walker, he's like almost like smudged a little bit, and the same goes for the Tauren Chieftain. He's almost smudged a little bit with his fur. Like, this is not what it looks like. It looks like it's been painted into it. So this is the one that looks the most painted out of all of them, I think, the Orc one.
The Blizzard showed off, and because they're concepts the Blizzard made, we probably know that those were Blizzard's original visual targets for this project, which I would say insinuates that something didn't go quite to plan. Now, thankfully, this stuff is optional and customizable. There's a new menu that lets you toggle between environments, hero icons, VFX, buildings, and units between Classic HD and Reforged. The menus are quite a bit better. You can re-theme to Frozen Throne, multiplayer progression has been iterated on, Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 music has been added as an option, and a whole bunch of other things. And barring some bugs, like the crazy thing that the Mac OS version was announced to be fixed, but then wasn't actually fixed, this, generally speaking, is progress. Warcraft 3 Reforged, you could say, is in its best official state ever. This is a step forward, and Warcraft 3 is a legendary game, one that I would heartily recommend anyone to play. It's where Warcraft as we know it actually came into its own, and it's a bloody good time as a game. And in all fairness, the new version of the Reforged environment and lighting art is, I'd say, substantially more in line with Warcraft 3's art style, so perhaps toggling those on, but using the classic models, would be the ideal way to play. But
biggest issue right now, or not the biggest issue, but it is an issue, is if this was an incentive for people to come back and play the campaign and enjoy it, I think they've incentivized for them to play with the classic HD graphics instead of just the flat-out Reforged graphics. Now, if they did that, some of the models are invisible or the portraits aren't representative, so Blizzard have to kind of go back and fix all of that now. So it's all this extra work on top of work, because every change is sort of breaking stuff that was there before.
We can all see what this isn't. It is not something that will bring Warcraft RTS fundamentally back. It is not an Age of Empires 2 HD Edition to Definitive Edition scale glow-up. And to understand why, we just need to take a look at the credits, because man, they are revealing. The Warcraft RTS team has 3 people in it. Yes, 3 people, that's what's in the credits. One of them is also somebody who...
I've not seen these credits yet, so this is new to me. New Reforged 2.0 section was added to Warcraft 3's in-game credits. That reveals the following details. So it is mirror image. Warcraft 3 RTS team consists of just 3 people. Fireside Studios is still involved with War 3. Gasket Games as the second external developer team. So you got the Warcraft RTS team: Brad Chan, Clayton Stone, and Dylan Beinler. And then there's the leadership there of Holly Longdale, Ian Hassakostas. So that's kind of more like the World of Warcraft team in a way. And they've got Warcraft 3 as part of it. So you can see leadership there for Reforged 2.0. But this is really the Warcraft RTS team. These are the people that are actually going to have anything to do with Warcraft 3 for the most part. Even though all these other names should technically be related to Warcraft 3 since this is the Reforged credits.
Works on WoW Classic as a producer, so I've got to assume that they're not full-time in this. There are 2 other additional producers and 3 people labeled as external art, plus 2 outsourced studios, Gasket Games and Playside Studios. Now, of course, outsourcing is normal in the industry, it's just that here, it does appear to be rather heavy, and taking a look at the final product, quality control has not been ideal. And I think what this shows is fundamentally limited resource allocation to the project, and Blizzard not investing in a more robust in-house team. You see, outsourcing can go well. If you take a look at Age of Empires 2, a lot of its success has mixed external studios and mod teams turned professional, but this with Warcraft is not that. There is a difference between Warcraft 3 and Age of Empires 2 fundamentally, and it's cost. Bringing Warcraft 3 Reforged to par with Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition in terms of product quality would be far more expensive. Warcraft 3's production values, its cinematic ambitions, its complexity, its differentiation between the races, those are just expensive, and that means that they're never going to put that much money in. They just won't see return on investment, and that absolutely is a shame. A War 3 remake that matches the ambition of the original Reforged pitch. Remade campaigns, honestly, something closer to a Resi 4 sort of Taken things, that would have been immense, but it's not what we got.
Just have to wait until Warcraft 4.
That being said, there is another thing. It's Warcraft 1 and 2 remastered. Now, sadly, those have not been remastered as extensively as StarCraft remastered, but they are both radically more playable. Both games have got fully remade art, and Warcraft 2 looks especially good. I'd say the orcs most of all. It's just
I would say that Warcraft 2 Reforged, remastered, doesn't look that different to the original Warcraft 2. It's actually really good because they kept it so similar. But I think the original Warcraft 2 holds up very well, whereas the original Warcraft 1, I don't have a problem with it because I can play these super old games with these graphics. But the difference between the Warcraft 1 remaster and its original form is incredible. Graphically, it looks vastly different. That would be the one that you might have more of a problem of if you was very specific on Warcraft 1 looking exactly how it looked. But that's got way more of an updated change than the Warcraft 2, I think.
Far cleaner image, though a few animations are off just looking at, say, the lumberers.
Look at that.
Beyond that, though, it is great. The FOV is greatly expanded, so you're not looking with this tiny, tiny FOV, which is fantastic.
Whereas Warcraft 2 goes from that
there are loads of
to
fantastic.
That, to me, isn't even that different. It's just cleaner.
Usability improvements, health bars, innovations like tooltips, and for Warcraft 1, box select and being able to select 12 units at a time. Truly is a game changer, actually. Now, this is the sort of thing that is not an Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition scale effort, but it is solid, and it's solid to the point where, for me, it's an easy recommendation. Warcraft 2 more so than Warcraft 1. But more than that, it also fits what Microsoft have been doing. Let's take stock of the big picture.
This man loves StarCraft 2 like you wouldn't believe. So, just take that in care. Although, to be fair, StarCraft 2 is a very good game.
So StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2's 3 campaigns are actually now all part of Game Pass PC, which you can access on the BNet app, which is pretty damn good. So it wouldn't be surprising to see that sort of thing happen with these 3 games, especially because they're now part of the relaunched Battle Chest for $39.99. And you look at that and think, well, that should be a good value. It's 3 whole games. War 3 is terrific. And I would say in a pure money for video game sense, it's totally worth it. Warcraft 3 cost like, what, $60, $50 when it came out, and it was worth that amount of money then. It's absolutely worth that now. But is this specific incarnation of it worth it in return for the effort that Blizzard put in? I would say there, things are absolutely less clear. Those up-res textures could be made by modders and...
What are you talking about, Peanut? Putting cute pictures on the thumbnails of YouTube videos in those pics? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Probably would be made better. Reforged does not live up to its actual promise, and Blizzard's investment here does not match the significance that their Warcraft Direct placed on this project. In a way, it's like price anchoring. Reforged set expectations so low that Update 2.0 could kind of look good. But in reality, I would say it is below average for what this sort of project is. And I'm left with a clear sense of things. Number one, the big anniversaries were enough of an excuse for Blizzard to do something here and try to right a wrong, like the 30th anniversary of the Warcraft franchise. Point two, then, they're able to justify that by bundling it into a $39.99 product, and I would say, point three, that's probably it. They can probably mark Reforged off as being fixed, the old RTS games honored, and just move on, making a few bucks, mending the reputation, and perhaps having another thing that they can bundle in with Game Pass for PC. Now, I don't blame anyone on this game's team, or even the Warcraft executive team for the way that this ended up going. At the end of the day, this is something that appears to be completely budget constrained. They were not willing to put the money in here. They were not willing to expand the internal RTS team to the point where this could be done right. And the reason why is likely just return on investment. Now you may say, what about Age of Empires? And that is a fair point, but before Microsoft committed to spending more...
I think what he's about to say is probably Age of Empires has kind of a lot of DLC amongst the different Age of Empire games, so it's kind of like you're branching off your audience to watch more. So if you like this Age of Empires, try this Age of Empires, or try this DLC of the specific Age of Empires you're playing. Or if you did like this Age of Empires, maybe you want to play our other Age of Empires 1, 2, 3, or 4, and Age of Mythology. Whereas Warcraft 3, they don't really have any DLC stuff to pull or move on to.
Money there, they did have an extremely active Age of Empires 2 player base. Now there is an active Warcraft 3 player base, but evidently not enough to make a larger project actually be worth the money. Our wet dream is of course War 3 Reforged by way of the Resi 4 remake, but that's just that. It's a dream. The numbers almost certainly do not add up. But thankfully, there's a little bit of a silver lining. They don't need to add up for us to get more content. Mod teams exist, and for Warcraft 3, they are damn dedicated. And most notable of all right now are Lorecraft Designs. They are actually working on remaking Warcraft 2 in Warcraft 3 Reforged. It is a hell of a project. Now, there's a bit of bad news. They have had some graphical issues with their Orc campaign, and the Orc campaign is what you can download and play today. They are currently working on their Rise of the Alliance campaign, and I would at least say that on the basis of their work and the core quality of Warcraft 3 as a game, I can recommend that you pick up Reforged. And while I think the Battle Chest is a tough ask for $39.99, it will almost certainly be discounted or on PC Game Pass. If it is discounted, I heartily recommend it, and if it ends up in PC Game Pass, the same also applies, because there is great content here, and those modders deserve to have more people see their work.
I always get asked, oh, should I buy Warcraft 3 or something like that? I say it's basically worth it just for the campaign, let alone anything else you want to do in it. So you will get your value. And then obviously there's custom campaigns like the Chronicles of the Second War if you're going to go down the Reforged route, or even classic versions of custom campaigns. There's like endless custom games. So if you like tower defense, RPGs, hero defense, etc., you can find something you're going to enjoy, be it solo or multiplayer. Most likely solo if you're coming in from nowhere effectively. You'll find something. You just need a bit of help to get your way there, but the base gameplay itself is really good.
And if you're a fan of how cold business ends up corrupting things, take a look at this, because Overwatch Classic got me to try out the game, and when I went in, oh man, the difference between what we had and what we have is pretty bad.
Well, you remember Overwatch? It was like the biggest game of all time, almost. It was absolutely huge. Was that 2014, 2016? It's one of those years, and everyone was massively hyped. I really wanted to get behind that. And then they got a bit greedy. But even then, when they were super greedy with all the loot boxes and such, people still loved the game. It's only when they basically said they were going to do Overwatch 2 and then went down a single player route, but then that never happened. It's basically like Warcraft Reforged. There was stuff in the game that was supposed to happen but never happened, and basically all you got was a glorified art update that no one really cared for. They just wanted more of the game, or more of the extension of that game. And now no one likes it. Overwatch Classic, ugh. I don't want anything to do with Overwatch anymore, but I was definitely into it quite a bit at the time. Oh well, times change, but not for Warcraft 3. If you enjoyed the video, do pop over and check out Bellular News and give him a like and watch the video, and obviously subscribe there as well as my channel if you want. If you fancy it, check me out twitch.tv/Witty as well. Have a good day. Take care.